Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you didn't already know, I love reading manga. I've been reading shonen in particular for as long as I can remember. And while I'll always love what I guess we'll call traditional books, manga is something that I wanted to make more of a mainstay on my channel, and to do that, I'm starting a concept of a plan called Manga Review Mondays, where every Monday I'm going to post a video about some manga that I've read over the week and actually want to talk about. And while I've reviewed other manga in the past, I kind of want to make this first official episode special. And what could be more special than a manga dedicated to my favorite video game series of all time, Pokemon Adventures. If you've heard of it, it's probably a no-brainer why I wanted to talk about it, and if you haven't, well, you're in for a surprise. What I'm interested in finding out is if the manga could be one of the better ways to experience the world of Pokemon, or if it's just another one of those things that got overhyped by the internet and fans. So, let's find out. So for those of you who didn't have a light bulb go off over their heads when I mentioned the Pokemon Adventures manga, you might be wondering what it is, and that's pretty easy to answer. You see, every mainline series Pokemon game, there are, I'm talking about games like Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, to the most recent games, Scarlet and Violet, all of them have a storyline, and the Pokemon Adventures manga is a twist on that storyline, as instead of being the person playing the game, you are watching the protagonist go through the story, not just as a silent pixelated battle maniac, but as a fully fleshed out character who goes through ups and downs on his goal to become a Pokemon master. But before we go on, I just wanted to point out that I'm a little under 200 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 here on the channel, so if you've seen some of my videos in the past, or if by the end of this video you decide you're enjoying it, it would be awesome if you could click subscribe. It's no cost to you and helps my channel grow in YouTube's vicious algorithm, so yeah, please do that if you haven't, and let's get back into talking about Pokemon Adventures. So you might be wondering what the appeal of a story like this is, and I think that for me, one of the things I loved about it was that this manga experience was the most alive the Pokemon world ever felt for me. Every major character had their own hopes and motivations for why they became trainers, and these included characters ranging from the gym leaders to the rivals to even Team Rocket, whose members get spotlight to highlight just how awful their organization really is, better than a kid's video game ever could. Because this is the first volume of the series, it takes place in the first region, Kanto, and follows the protagonist of the first set of games, Red, Blue, and Yellow, who is creatively named Red. And yeah, most of the protagonists are just named after the games, which works fine until we get to Pokemon Black and White later, and then it gets a little weird. But when I was reading this manga, I couldn't stop myself from thinking about what really set this story apart from any other type of Pokemon media I've come across in the past, and I came across with a few things. The first is that the tone of this manga shifts majorly depending on the situation. The Pokemon's video game and anime typically are designed for children, and while they at times hint at darker plot lines, I'm thinking about Lavender Town, or that sequence in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum where Darkrai is tormenting the dreams of this young girl, they aren't the most willing to explore the darker aspects of the Pokemon world the way the manga is. And I think the best example of one of these themes that is explored is that greed can make people corruptible. We all know that Team Rocket are the villainous organizations from Generation 1 and 2, but the Pokemon Adventures manga makes a very interesting decision of having various gym leaders, some of the strongest trainers in the region, as well as a few members of the Elite Four, be part of Team Rocket to boost their threat credibility. Each of these villainous gym leaders or Elite Four members have different reasons for joining up with the organization, but it really makes the Pokemon world feel less whimsical and more rugged and dangerous. And I'm the first to acknowledge that that might not work for everyone, but I think the way it was written worked for me, because there are some extremely dark panels in this manga, and concepts I never imagined seeing in a Pokemon game, like zombie Pokemon that were killed by Team Rocket and now are possessed in the Pokemon Tower, or literally attempted murders that happened more than once in the series. But while it did go into darker spheres, I didn't feel like it ever crossed over the edgy for the sake of being edgy threshold, though I will say that it danced on that line maliciously at times. But moving past that, the second thing that really stood out was the depth of character this manga explored. I think that one of the things that doesn't get talked about nearly enough is the importance of having your characters fit into your world. And I think that Kusaka, the mangaka or author of Pokemon Adventures, did that perfectly with the three main characters, Red, Blue, and Green. Because most people aren't reading this manga with no Pokemon experience, and Kusaka had to balance out Red's starting point in terms of experience. If he was a complete rookie with no knowledge of Pokemon, it would make the first chapters miserable for fans of the series, and if he was already a super powerful battling genius, it would be equally, if not more boring than option 1. So instead, Kusaka settled for making Red a big fish in a small pond type of character. Like when we meet Red, he already has a Pokemon. I don't know why Poliwhirl was chosen of all Pokemon, but that is what he was given. And he's already aware of like the basic concepts of catching Pokemon and battling. And everyone at Pallet Town just thinks he's such a big shot. And because he thinks that, when Team Rocket comes into town talking about looking for a legendary Pokemon, Red thinks he can catch it, only to be humiliatingly humbled by his future rival Blue, a trainer with far more experience. But instead of getting down in the dumps, Red does the non-toxic thing and takes it as a lesson to broaden his understanding and goes to speak to Professor Oak in Pallet Town to learn more. And because this is an adventure manga, it doesn't go exactly as planned, there's a bit of a fiasco, but during it, we see Red bond with a Bulbasaur, who even Oak had difficulties managing, and becomes one of Oak's students and is given the Bulbasaur, the best Gen 1 starter, and a Pokedex to travel the world, become stronger, and learn more about Pokemon. On the other hand, Blue starts his journey as Red's rival a couple steps ahead. Growing up as Oak's grandson, he already knows more than Red from the jump, and is a bit more cocky and arrogant about his ability. And unlike Red, whose strength comes from the bond he develops with troubled Pokemon, Blue is highly regimented, focusing only on the performance of his team. And it's not like Blue doesn't care about his team, but it's more like the way a boss cares about his employees than how Red cares about his Pokemon, which are more like a family. And honestly, one of the best parts of this manga is where the two accidentally switch Pokemon, with Red having Blue's team and vice versa, and then they meet up and they swap back to their originals to find out that both grew from the other's style, because while Red ends up adopting more of Blue's dedication to training, Blue is seen spending more time building bonds with his team, and both of them lead to their Pokemon getting stronger and stronger before we enter the Pokemon League. And then finally, there is Green, who is both the most frustrating and hilarious trainer in the story. She acts a lot like the rival from Gen 2 who steals a Pokemon from Oak, in this case Green steals Blastoise, and constantly engages in underhanded tactics that differ considerably from Blue and Red, who have more honorable strategies. However, Green does help Red out a ton in helping him think more like a villain and understand Team Rocket better than he could have on his own, and Green does evolve throughout the volume, and her ending might even be more satisfying than Blue, at least by the end of the first collector's volume. There's a difference. The last major difference between this manga and any of the mainstream ways people consume Pokemon is that this manga is not afraid of reminding us that Pokemon are dangerous, and really puts emphasis on the danger that Pokemon trainers face when Pokemon battles each other. Like, during the battle with Lieutenant Surge, Red literally gets electrocuted and almost drowns, and it really makes you consider why it is that not every Pokemon, or not every person in this world elects to be a Pokemon trainer, because it's dangerous. Look at this panel that's on screen now. And since we're talking about the panels, let me just say that the art style is perfect for this manga. I know everyone lost their mind over the chibi art style of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but Pokemon, in my opinion, is just one of those series that needs cartoonish flair to work. I think Mato, the artist for this manga, really nailed it in the way he presented the world of Pokemon. It's very lighthearted and bubbly, but allows for the action to flow really well throughout the panels. And overall, it's just remarkably vibrant. It feels so alive and lived in. So I've given this manga a lot of praise so far, and don't get me wrong, it does deserve it, but I would not be a good reviewer if I did not tell you about some of the flaws. A lot of them stem from writing and pacing in this case. And I did a quick Google search and found out it takes about 29 hours on average for a person to complete Pokemon Fire Red, the Gen 1 remakes, and that is with only staying focused on the main objectives, not even talking about completing the Pokedex. So 29 hours, remember that. The Pokemon Adventures manga, which is designed on building out the world of Pokemon to make it feel more lived in, is only 40 chapters long. And in that time, we cover Red's journey from Pallet Town Big Shot to competing in the Pokemon League in that span. So, as you can imagine, this leads to some absolutely bonkers flash forward or montages, and at times some cringy and underdeveloped writing and characters in order to meet that mark. There are times where we are just flying through the main quest line, and then we stop to do side quests for no reason and make no progress towards our objective for 5 chapters, and then we're back on the main quest line. And I'd like to have seen it where the side quests build into the main quest line in order to get to the next objective. But you know what? I'm kind of giving Kusaka a pass because this was their first attempt writing a Pokemon manga. And I'm very interested in seeing how Volume 2 turns out to see how he grew from this experience into the next set. That said, do I still recommend this manga to fans of Pokemon? Yeah, absolutely. I do think that people were right about the manga being one of the most unique ways to experience Pokemon. And if that's something you're looking forward to, then yeah, I'd say pick up Volume 1 of the Collector's Edition. It's like, how much is it? I got mine for, so on the back it says it's $19.99, but I got mine for like $12 online. So look around, see what you can get. Read it, give it a chance. You know, it's a pretty complete story, so even if you don't continue reading forward, you're gonna enjoy this cover to cover if you're a Pokemon. You might enjoy this cover to cover if you're a Pokemon fan. But on the other hand, if you are more of a casual Pokemon fan, I'd say just stick to the games. By nature, they're more interactive, and if you mainly just care about catching and battling Pokemon rather than the lore and the story developed in the manga, then, I mean, it's not really gonna do very much for you. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the first volume of the Pokemon Adventures manga. I look forward to reading the second one soon and seeing if anything has improved or gotten worse, but hopefully not. If you enjoyed this video, it would be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on this video. And if you are someone who has actually read through the entire series, let me know what region you thought was the best in the comments below. But until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'm going to pass it off to Endscreen Jared to close us out. So Endscreen Jared, it's your time to go. Hey there guys, Endscreen Jared here, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because that will help the channel grow a lot. And if you want to see me talk more about manga, check out my discussion on if the Boruto time skip has actually helped the series overall. Or if you want to talk more about traditional books, check out my latest book review on Rupert Holmes's Murder Your Employer, an intense and humorous crime thriller. Also, since I had so much fun reviewing this manga, I've decided to livestream me playing a mod of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond called Pokemon Luminescent Platinum here on the channel, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. But with that, I've got nothing left to promote, so I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, peace.